All right, so why don't we make our way down to the ground. We're just going to run through a little bit of a restorative sequence today. Just gonna try and move through a few different stretches as we're really trying to sync the breath with the music. With the movement, trying to kind of slow down those internal rhythms a little bit, maybe identify where we're holding on to some tension in the body, see what we can let go of. Something that can be kind of a helpful practice sometimes to start to transition your mind in from the busyness of the day into your body, into that interoceptive awareness space. Sometimes beginning with a little self-massage can be a great way to do that. Just start getting your thoughts out of your mind and a little bit more into your body. So as you're just starting to kind of notice any sensations in the body, if there's tension or tightness anywhere coming up to your attention, maybe using those physio balls just to start to invite in a little bit of gentle sensation into those places. Remembering that we're really going to try and use our breath as a tool, so as you're maybe using those physio balls under tight areas, focusing on the breath, almost like you're sending the breath into that area. So inhaling, really focusing on those muscles that are on top of that physio ball. And then as you exhale, just encouraging any softening, any releasing to happen in that area that you can. We're going to try and really kind of take our time today, moving slowly, moving smoothly, seeing if we can release into each stretch nice and slow as we exhale, rather than just kind of flying through while our mind is in other places. Just really using this as a moving meditation practice. As your mind goes off into future, past, just keep bringing it back into the sensations in your body, the feeling of the movement, of the stretching, the feeling of your breath. Wherever you are, whether you're kind of exploring with those physio balls or you're just kind of being a little bit more still, why don't we take 3 nice full breaths here, maybe in through the nose and either out through the nose or out through the nostrils, if that feels good. And as you exhale, really focusing on the feeling of your body being heavy, of just releasing into the support of the ground beneath you. We'll just take a few more moments here, settling in. Again, we're not needing to necessarily change or fix anything here in these first few moments of our practice. We're just using a little bit of self-massage and a little bit of breath to start waking up our sensory awareness, maybe figuring out kind of how we're feeling to use our time as effectively as possible, starting to settle the mind into that maybe more quiet space of the body. So feel free to keep going with that self-massage as long as it's feeling good and helpful. You can always catch back up in a little bit if you're doing exactly what you need to do right now. I'm going to start guiding us through a few different stretches. Like I mentioned, try and move slowly into them. Maybe focus on releasing into that posture as you exhale to get that benefit of your physiology, benefit of the relaxation response. And our goal is to find what feels good, so modifying anything if it's causing pain or discomfort. We want you moving away from this practice, hopefully feeling better than when you started. So let's just take a moment to kind of find our neutral foundation, this posture that we're going to move out of a few times for a number of different stretches. So when you're ready, we'll just meet laying on our back. Feet will be planted about hip width apart with the knees up toward the ceiling. And before we move out of this, let's take a second to just scan that focus between the points of contact with the body and the ground. So just noticing the feeling of your toes resting on the floor, underneath the balls and the pads of the foot. Bringing that awareness up underneath the hips and the pelvis. Scanning along the back and spine, just noticing where is your body making contact with the floor, where is it arching away from that support. Feeling your arms resting on the ground by your sides, your head just releasing into the support of the ground beneath you. Just taking a breath or two here, noticing any sensations or energy in the body, just giving yourself that sense of baseline, how you're walking in, so you can be a little bit more aware of what's shifting as we go. So whenever you're ready to start moving out of this posture, we're just going to go ahead and grab that strap. We're going to use it to support the weight of our leg a little bit here. So whenever you're ready, we'll start to inhale that right foot up to the ceiling. Go ahead and wrap the strap around the ball of that foot. And then you're going to use the straps to support that leg up in the air. So try and use as little effort as possible. You may want to kind of walk your hands up the strap to extend the elbows, or wrap the hands around the strap, just whatever helps. Use as little effort to hold the weight of the foot up in the air. And then we'll start to find whatever gentle movement here feels good. Maybe that's just gently hugging that leg in toward the chest as you exhale. Just gradually getting a little bit further into that hamstring. Maybe that's shifting that foot side to side to change where you're feeling that sensation of the stretch. Or maybe it's even doing some circles with that leg in one direction and the other. Just moving as much or as little feels helpful. Right now, still keeping the weight of the head relaxed into the support of the ground beneath you. Trying to keep the shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Just taking a few more breaths here, moving as much or as little as feels helpful right now. And whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and put both straps in the right arm. So right leg's in the air, the straps are in that same side arm. Your left leg can just flatten on the ground now. So left leg flat on the ground, right leg straight up in the air. Take a nice full inhale here. And then as you exhale, start to open that leg away from the body, releasing toward the floor into that adductor stretch. Again, maybe not flying into the full extension of that stretch straight away, but maybe seeing if you can release down a little bit more each time you exhale. Really using that strap to moderate the intensity of the stretch. Again, we don't want pain, we don't want a ton of discomfort. If you are, go ahead, back out a little bit. Maybe see if you can release in on your next exhale a little bit more slowly. And listening to your body, moving out of a stretch whenever you're feeling ready. Don't stay there too long. That's how injuries occur. If this is feeling good, maybe let's take one more breath here. Nice full inhale where you're really feeling that sensation. Exhaling. Just encouraging those muscles to release when they can. Whenever you're ready, we can start to inhale that foot back up to the ceiling, supporting the weight of the leg with the strap. Keeping that same leg, so that right leg is still up in the air. We're going to switch the straps to the left hand. We'll inhale here. And then as you exhale, start to cross that leg over the body, releasing down toward the floor on the other side. And now as we're exhaling, maybe really focusing on that outer hip, that IT band. It's often a pretty tight area for folks, so just try to really keep that breath come in. Noticing where you're tensing or clenching. Is it your face, your shoulders, quads, anywhere else? Just see if you can really let that tension go rather than run away to somewhere else in the body. And just take in one more nice full breath here if it's feeling good. Whenever you're ready, on an inhale, you can start to raise that foot back up to the ceiling. You can release that strap. Let's put both legs flat on the ground, just maybe gently bouncing the knees or windshield wipering the feet, just trying to kind of loosen up any tension in the lower half of the body. Noticing what you're feeling right to left. Has anything shifted, or does everything still feel the same? And then whenever you're ready, we can just start to slide those heels back, so we're finding that neutral position again, feet planted, hip width apart, knees up toward the ceiling. Just do that same sequence on the other side. So we're going to start to inhale that left foot up to the ceiling, wrapping that strap around the ball of the left foot. We'll start to use the strap to support the weight of the leg up in the air. And as you're taking some nice full breaths here, exploring whatever movement or stillness feels helpful here on the other side. As you're shifting that foot around, if there's a super tight place where that movement sticks, you could always pause there for a couple of breaths. Encourage things to open up when they're ready. Relaxing the head back. Checking in with the muscles of the face, forehead, in and around the eyes, the cheeks, and the jaw. Just take in a few more nice full breaths here. Just trying to find what feels good, what feels helpful on this side of the body, which may be very different from the first side. Whenever you're ready, we can start to put both straps in the left hand, so the same arm as the leg up in the air. We can extend that right leg flat on the ground. Take a nice full inhale here. And then as you exhale, moving at your own pace, nice and slow, start to open up that leg away from the body, relaxing down into that inner thigh stretch. On the other side, using that strap to control how intense that sensation feels. Breathing into that area of tension, using that exhale to encourage that sense of release. Just take a couple more breaths here if it's still feeling good. And then whenever you're ready, On an inhale, we can start to support the weight of that leg up to the ceiling. You can switch those straps to the right hand. Nice full breath in here. Then as we exhale, let's start to cross that leg over the body, releasing down to the floor on the other side. Breathing into where you're feeling that intense sensation. Exhaling, just seeing what you can let go of for now. We're not going to be able to relax absolutely everything right now, and that is perfectly fine. We're just seeing what our body doesn't need to hold on to in this moment. So let's just take one more breath here if it still feels good. Whenever you are ready, we can start to inhale that leg back up to the ceiling. We can release that strap, and then again, both legs flat on the ground, just gently bouncing the knees or windshield wipering the feet. Just trying to loosen up any tension, notice what you're feeling, what's shifting, what's staying the same. From here, when you're ready, we can start to hug the knees up to the chest. So you can either support the weight of the knees with your hands, or if you want to extend your reach, this is a great place. You can bring that strap in, wrap around the legs, support the knees, whatever feels better. And then as we're enjoying some nice full breaths here, just, again, whatever movement feels good, similar to the leg up in the air. Maybe that's hugging those knees into the chest as you exhale. Maybe that's gently shifting those knees side to side. Maybe that's doing some circles with your knees in one direction and the other, kind of massaging that low back into the ground. Still relaxing the head back, releasing that tension from the neck, the shoulders. And when you're ready, from here, we'll return to that similar kind of neutral posture with our feet planted, hip width apart, knees up toward the ceiling. We're going to start similarly with inhaling that right leg up to the ceiling again. This time as you exhale, go ahead and cross that right ankle over the left knee, coming into this figure 4 position with your lower body. When you're in this type of position, to protect your knee joint from twisting in ways that you shouldn't, just try to kind of gently lift those right toes up and back toward the knee. The gentle engagement in the foot protects the knee joint. So from here, you may be getting a ton of sensation in the hip already. If you're not, you may want to start to press against the thigh with the palm of the right hand, just gently opening up those hips a little bit more. Taking those full breaths here. If it feels helpful, you could always play around with shifting your knees gently side to side here, just kind of changing a little bit where you're feeling that sensation. You're still not getting a lot of stretch here. You'd like to take it a little further. You can always lift both legs off the ground and support the weight of your legs either with the hands, or you could wrap that strap around the leg again. Wherever you are, just taking another breath or two here, trying to enjoy that stretch, that sensation. And then if you did lift your legs off the mat, let's all meet back in that figure 4 position. So the right leg is crossed over the right knee, left foot's planted on the ground, arms are out to side in a T shape. So from this position, we're going to inhale here. And then as you exhale, start to relax the knees over toward the left side of the body. So you're just kind of gently releasing the knees over toward the body, almost like you're bringing the bottom of the right foot toward the floor on the left side. May not go anywhere near the floor. All we're trying to let our knees do is relax over into a little bit of a twist, Find what feels good here. Taking a few nice full breaths. So you're just trying to let the weight of your body rest against the floor in this new position. And whenever you're feeling ready to move out of that, you can start to inhale those knees back up to center. We'll re-find neutral and do that same thing on the other side. You may want to kind of realign your spine a little bit, or kind of just check in with your posture before we get set up for the other side. So from that neutral posture, feet planted hip width apart, knees up toward the ceiling. When you're ready, we'll start to inhale that left leg up. This time exhaling, crossing left ankle over right knee, coming into that figure 4 on the other side. Starting to gently lift those left toes up and back toward the knee to protect that knee joint. Finding what feels good here. Maybe that's starting to press against the thigh with the palm of the hand. Maybe that's shifting those knees side to side. Maybe that's staying exactly where you are right now and focusing on the breath. Or maybe it's even lifting both legs off the mat, supporting the weight of them with your hands or your strap. Wherever you are, let's just take a couple more breaths here. And so then we'll all come and meet back down in that figure 4 position, arms outside to our sides in a T shape. Take a nice full breath in here. As we exhale, we'll start to release the knees over toward the right side of the body. Just relaxing gradually into that twist on the other side. Taking a few breaths here. Ready, we can start to inhale those knees back up to center. Re-find neutral, and then just start to kind of roll over onto one side so that we can come up onto hands and knees for just a couple moments here. So remembering just a couple tricks. When you're weight bearing on your hands, you want to press through the fingers to spread the weight through the hand, not dump the weight in the wrist. You can always bring your hands up into fists or put a little lift under the wrist, like with a book or some sort of a prop to change that angle a little bit. If we want more cushion under the knees, we can always fold the mat up or put something under the knees to get a little bit more padding there. So from this nice long neutral tabletop position, wrists are under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. We're gently pressing through the pads of the fingers and the toenails against the ground to really help find that stable foundation. From here, we're going to start to move the breath in rhythm with the spine. So as we inhale, we're going to start to lower the belly and look up, just putting a gentle curve in the spine, filling the lungs with air here. As we exhale, we'll reverse that, start to release the weight of that head down, curling the spine up toward the ceiling, pressing all the air out of the lungs. And then flowing between those two postures at your own speed. We're inhaling as we're lowering the belly, looking up, sort of bringing the chest up through the shoulders here. Exhaling, releasing the head down, curling the spine up, squeezing all that air back out. Moving as much or as little feels good to you here. You could be really exploring that full range of motion, or maybe focusing more on your foundation and moving with stability. taking a few more breaths, just kind of playing around with what feels good here. And feel free to kind of get creative here with the movement. You could do a C curve in one direction and the other, getting a little bit of a bend through the side of the spine. Maybe doing some big circles with the spine, or just whatever sort of movement here, shifting forward and back, helps to get into those dark nooks and crannies along the back and spine. Whenever you're feeling ready to take the weight off of the hands and wrists, let's go ahead and bring those toes together. We'll open up our knees the width of the mat. You can go ahead and sink the hips back toward the heels, reach the palms out in front of you. Try to relax the weight of your head all the way down to the ground. If your forehead is not just automatically connecting with the ground, this is a great place to bring in a block to support the weight of that head so that you can let that upper spine really release here. So just taking a couple more full breaths if this is feeling good. If it's not feeling good to your knees, maybe grabbing that bolster and sitting on it. You can slide that in between your calves and the back of your thighs here to prop up that pelvis a little bit off of the lower legs. If this is feeling okay, let's start to walk our hand over to one side of the mat or just off of the mat. So we're just kind of walking our hands over to one side to enjoy a couple breaths here through this side stretch. So really feeling that whole line of energy through the side of the pinky, down the side of the hand, side of the arm, shoulder, side of your torso, all the way out that hip, just breathing into that whole curve. When you're ready, we can just start to walk our hands over to the other side. Finding that side bend here on the opposite, breathing into that line of energy. And when you're ready, we'll come on back to center. You can slide any props out of the way that we were using. Come up onto all fours for one more stretch here. We'll try and get into that thoracic curve a little bit. From that nice stable tabletop position, nice long spine extending through the top of the head, the base of the tailbone. We're going to start to inhale that right arm out to the side. As we exhale, we'll thread the needle through the hole, trying to release that right shoulder and ear all the way down to the ground. If it doesn't reach, this is another great place to bring in a prop. You could always slide in a pillow or bolster, bring that ground up to you. If this feels okay, let's take a couple of breaths here. Feel free to change the placement of that left arm. Some people kind of like to extend that left arm so that it's straight. Just kind of find whatever placement feels helpful and stable for another breath or two here. Again, always listening to your body, coming out when you're ready. And then if you did move that left palm, let's replant it up here by the face so that we can start to press through on an inhale, coming back up to center. We'll refine neutral and then do that same thing on the other side. So when you're ready, we can start to inhale that left arm out. We'll exhale, threading the needle through the hole, relaxing that left shoulder and ear all the way down to the mat if they reach. We can find whatever placement with that right hand and arm feels supportive and stable here. And then just enjoying a couple of breaths. Nice and full. And then if you move the placement of that right hand, let's just bring it back up by the face so we can use that to support our weight as we inhale back up to center. We'll just make our way onto our back sides for a couple more stretches here. Make sure that one of your blocks is handy so you can grab it pretty easily to use it for the resting version of that bridge pose. So we're going to start from our favorite neutral position without the block. We're going to do a little bit of movement without the block, and then we're going to grab it and slide it under for the resting version. So starting again with your feet planted hip width apart, knees up toward the ceiling. Arms are resting down by our sides now, so our palms are just kind of against the mat down by our hips. Really finding that solid foundation again. So we're going to be, as we're moving in this position, kind of gently pressing against the ground with the pads of the toes, balls of the feet, heels of the feet, along the pads of the fingers, palms of the hands, back of the arms, and the shoulders. Our head is just going to be gently resting against the ground, not pressing too hard into the ground with the head because that's going to create extra tension in the neck we don't need. Once we're kind of really aware of our main foundation here, when we're ready, we're going to start to sync the movement of the hips with the breath. So as we inhale, we can start to press against the ground with the feet, peeling the hips off the ground. The pelvis starts to lift up off the mat. And then as we exhale, we'll reverse that, relaxing one vertebrae at a time, back down to the ground. So moving at your own pace, we're inhaling those hips up. We're exhaling back down. We're moving as much or as little feels good. It may feel helpful to explore that full range of motion if you have a lot of flexibility in the back and spine, or it may feel more helpful to barely lift the hips off the mat and focus more on that foundation. Our goal is, as we exhale and we're releasing those hips back down, we're trying to create as much length as we can throughout the spine. So it's almost like we're releasing one vertebrae at a time back down to the mat. We're really trying to articulate through the spine. So finding how much movement you can enjoy here as we're breathing those hips up and down. It may feel good to kind of tuck the chin a little bit, create some more length through the back of the neck. So that's always something you can try here. Feel free to keep going with this movement as long as it's feeling good and helpful. Whenever your body is ready to move into more of a resting version of that pose, what we're going to do is next time you inhale and you lift those hips up, we're going to slide that block right under the sacrum. You might want it on this medium height or on the lower setting. It just kind of depends on what feels better today. You don't want to feel pinching or pain or like it's going to come flying out from under you, so you may need to kind of move around a little bit to find the sweet spot so that you can just really release the weight of your hips onto that block. So we're not actively working to hold ourselves up at this point, but we're just giving a minute here to allow some opening to start to happen through the front of the hip joints, letting some of that stress and tension from the hips and the pelvis drain out into the support of the block as we're just resting our hips down. Do what feels natural with the arms. Maybe they're still down by your sides. Maybe you're kind of opening them out more. Could be by your head. Sometimes I like to kind of have my elbows planted by my sides on the ground and then my hands resting on the hips. So whatever feels comfortable to you. And then just really focusing on those nice, slow, full breaths here. Maybe as you exhale, really focusing on those hips, just releasing into the support of that block. Maybe checking back in with the muscles of the face. Seeing if there's anything you can let go of there. Feel good to tuck the chin a little bit here. If that feels good, bring in some more length through the back of the neck. Still trying to keep those shoulders relaxed, away from the ears, even in these more reclined postures. Maybe taking a moment to check in with your mood for today as well. Where did you start today out at? Where are you now? What may have contributed to any shift in between? As you're noticing that, maybe just checking back in with the breath and the posture. Are there any adjustments that you can make to either to get a little bit more comfortable here? So just give yourself that opportunity. And always listening to your body, coming out of things whenever you're ready. This is still feeling good. Maybe let's take 5 more nice full breaths here. In through the nostrils. Exhaling as you're releasing the weight of the hips onto that block. And then feel free to stay here as long as you would like. We've got plenty of time. Whenever you're feeling ready to move out of this posture, maybe just beginning by engaging your low abdominal muscles and pelvic floor muscles to try and kind of protect that low back a little bit as we press through the feet, inhaling, lifting those hips up, sliding that block out. Slowest one of the day, exhaling 1 vertebrae at a time back down to the mat, trying to create as much length through the spine as you can. Whenever you make it back down to the mat, kind of returning to that neutral posture, maybe just scanning again those points of contact between your body and the floor. Has anything shifted from where your body is resting or arching away from the floor? Does everything kind of feel the same? And then I'm gonna give just an option for our final resting pose here, but know that also maybe what you're noticing is there's more movement or stretching that would feel good. So maybe you want to give yourself that opportunity to just do whatever self-massage or stretching feels helpful. One final resting pose that I will offer with the props that we have is maybe making a little bit of a ramp here with your blocks and your bolster if anyone wants to do a little bit more opening through the upper body. So we could put one block on the higher height and then another block in front of it on a lower setting. We can rest our bolster on top of that or whatever props happen to be laying around the house. We can slide our seat up to the base of that ramp and then start to lay back with the upper body. We can open our arms out to the side or kind of place them wherever feels helpful. If you have a lot of tension in the front of the shoulder joints, it may not feel good to have your arms hanging here, so you may want to lift up your arms on some other bolsters or cushions at home, or maybe even kind of cross them over the chest. Do what feels good with the knees and the legs. Maybe you want to keep your feet planted where they are. Maybe you want to straighten those legs in front of you. If you want to get into the hips a little bit more here, maybe you want to bring in a butterfly stretch, just bringing the soles of the feet together and letting your knees gently open side to side. This is another place where you could put in a little support under the knees to help prop them up. So whatever sort of final restorative posture you have found yourself in, just try to enjoy a few more breaths here, really feeling your body expand with air as you inhale. As you exhale, just trying to let go of whatever your body doesn't need to hold on to in this moment. Whether that's physical tension, energy, emotional content, just whatever it is, taking those nice full breaths in. And as you exhale, settle, release, let it go. Perhaps doing a quick scan through the body on your own, either starting with the feet or the head, just working your way from one end to the other. Noticing any sensations, energy, just anything present. Taking a few more breaths wherever you are, resting in this awareness. Wherever you are, especially if you're practicing on your own, feel free to stay here as long as it feels good and helpful if you have that time. Wherever you are, getting ready to transition out of this practice. Maybe start by just kind of noticing those points of contact again between your body and the floor, any props below you. Maybe taking a few fuller breaths as you're just kind of gradually starting to wake the senses back up again. When you're ready, letting the fullness of that breath invite in whatever weight shifting or stretching feels good as you're just kind of gradually making your way out of this particular posture. And enjoying any movement along the way that your body would like to do. Just give yourself that chance. Noticing if there's any other stretching or self-massage that you could do to just kind of get as much as you can from this time. And always remembering to express a little appreciation to yourself for showing up, taking this time. And try and take whatever you were able to generate with you into whatever is coming next.